And in the whole world, these roads are taking more and more use. Not only the roads, by the way, but also other infrastructure objects like airports, like waterports, structures, the parts of railway, roads, everything that is being produced are produced from new materials, polymeric materials. Okay, we we are talking about the trends coming here. One of the areas is offshore wind energy. Now there are many talks about Green Deal movement, and accordingly, Europe says before 2050 we have to completely switch to decarbonized economy, and all the products imported to EU practically will be taxed with the so-called CO2 tax for each ton of CO2 which is emitted during the production. Accordingly, the development of renewable energy sources has to happen, and the offshore wind energy is being developed very actively now, and it goes more and more deep to the sea, more distant, far off from human eyes. As you might remember, in Rotterdam there is already a 14 megawatt wind turbine with very big diameter. How this sulfur extended concrete can add to the wind energy in the sea? They understand there are many problems existing about different kinds of concretes or cements. The water is salted, so how could it influence to the life of the materials? You know, polymers can be used much longer, can live much longer life than other materials. Many times longer, not just few percents, but many times more. And the platforms on which the wind turbines are installed are produced from concrete, as a rule. Those are thousands of tons, tens of thousands of tons of material. When producing 1 ton of concrete, there is just about 40 to 50% of cement. When producing 1 ton of cement, 1 ton of CO2 is is emitted. That is how the humankind is cutting the branch upon which it's sitting. So the invention of sulfur extended cement is an extraordinary event in humankind's life, and it gives a chance to survive, to come back to life. Obviously, the cement should be replaced with other materials, more environmentally friendly, with no such huge emissions of CO2. As it relates sulfur extended concretes, for the production of those concretes, there are many times lower emissions of CO2. And we use the technology where we use other sources of energy. We are talking now about zero emission project with no emissions absolutely of CO2. That is why sulfur extended concrete for the nearest 20 years is the only perspective which can replace cemented concretes and bitumen asphalts. I haven't answered your question, I'm sorry. The sulfur extended concrete, being a polymeric material, is not destroyed by acid alkalines, by water, by sea water. That is why this material increases the life of the platform many times. It is not absorbing water It is not, no matter is adhering to it. So this is the best material for seawater. So this material can prolong the life of the wind turbines. To understand, the production of 1 ton of concrete is connected, is linked to 1 ton of CO2 emission. So if EU starts to introduce to impose taxes 35, 55 euro per 1 ton, they want to introduce 300 euro per 1 ton of CO2 emissions. Obviously, certain industries will become uncompetitive, non-competitive, because they will pay more taxes than the whole their production costs. As of today, the concrete is being produced with a huge number of polymeric additives. When we are talking about the concretes which are used in the sea, in the seaports, those are concretes where polymeric additives make approximately the same cost as the concrete itself. But talking about sulfur extended concrete, it is already by 100% polymeric material. In the European Union, already tens and hundreds of companies do use products from sulfur extended concrete. But sulfur is not, production of sulfur is not very much environmental friendly one. So how do you, where from do you take it? What effect is being produced there? No, the sulfur is a rather environmentally friendly product. The sulfur is very active, and that is why it generates a number of compounds. And the compounds where sulfur belongs to can be harmful. By the way, sulfur is used also in the cosmetics, in the fertilizer. So talking about that sulfur as such is harmful is a myth. The industrial waste of sulfur-containing materials may be very dangerous, very harmful. But sulfur is quite other materials like the diamond is formed with the temperature higher than 112 degrees Celsius. Sulfur becomes a binder, very active binder, which is used to utilize even the low power, low radiation nuclear wastes, because the sulfur-containing materials do reduce the activity of bulk radiative materials. We know that gravel, that stone chips is produced from rocks, also has some radiation, and the slags and the use of sulfur instead of bitumens and cements exactly reduces that property, and the material itself is environmentally friendly. Talking about the future, as of today, all the cities are suffering from huge amount of building wastes. The bricks, the concrete, especially iron reinforced concrete, they have no place to store it. And it costs a lot to dispose of that of those materials. And the sulfur extended